Okay, so get this. On December 9th, 2025, the global chip war took a turn that absolutely nobody saw coming. President Trump just announced a complete reversal. Nvidia is now allowed to sell advanced AI chips to China. But listen, this is not a truce. Oh no. This is the start of a whole new kind of war. And this one decision, it's completely redrawing the map of global power. Let's break down exactly how.
Everything, and I mean everything, pivots on this one incredibly direct quote. This has nothing to do with diplomacy. This is a toll booth. For the very first time, a critical piece of American technology is being sold to a strategic rival, not just for profit, but with a massive tariff paid straight to the U.S. government. It's a truly radical idea, turning national security into, well, a business deal. So you really got to understand what a massive change this is. The old policy, the high fence strategy, was simple, right? Keep all the best tech inside a small, very heavily guarded yard. But this new strategy, transactional mercantilism, it doesn't just lower the fence, it blows a giant hole in it. The new thinking seems to be, hey, if China's going to get the tech one way or another, why don't we make them pay us for it and keep them dependent on our stuff? But this raises a huge question about the tech itself.
Right, let's get to the heart of the whole deal, the Nvidia H200 chip. The administration is trying to sell this as a step down, old technology. But is it? Is it really?
This is the key. This is the entire justification for the sale. The official line is that since it's not the absolute top-of-the-line chip, the risk is somehow managed. But when you actually crunch the numbers, a very different and frankly much more alarming story starts to emerge.
Let's just look at the data, because this is where the official story really begins to fall apart. Now sure, the H100 is not the top-tier B200. That one's still banned. But compared to the H200, that's the watered-down chip China was allowed to have before. We are talking about a massive leap in memory and a mind-blowing 50-fold increase in raw performance. It might not be tomorrow's tech, but it is very much today's high-end supercomputing power. And this number right here, 4.8 terabytes per second, this is arguably the most important number on that entire chart. See, in the world of AI, all the processing power in the world is useless if you can't feed the beast. And that's exactly what memory bandwidth is all about. This is the perfect way to think about it. Imagine an AI model is a genius brain. That brain is only as good as how fast it can read books from the library. The old H200 chip gave China a fast reader. This new H200, it gives them a speed reader who can absorb an entire library in seconds. It is a complete game changer for training bigger, more powerful AI. But the plan to actually collect the money for this chip, that's where things go from controversial to just plain absurd.
So how exactly does the U.S. plan to collect that 25% tariff? Well, it involves a pretty sketchy legal scheme designed to get around one of the oldest rules in the book, the U.S. Constitution itself. So here's the roadblock. The Constitution is crystal clear. It flat out forbids the government from taxing exports. The Supreme Court has been strict on this for centuries. You just cannot put a federal tax on goods that are leaving the country, period. To get around this, the administration cooked up this totally bizarre workaround. Okay, follow me here. The chips are made in Taiwan. Then they get shipped all the way to the U.S. where they're officially imported, and that's when a 25% tariff gets paid. Only then are they re-exported back across the ocean to China. It is a logistical nightmare and a legal house of cards. But while America is busy playing this shell game, what's China up to? Now you might think Beijing would be celebrating this deal, right? You'd be wrong. Instead of jumping on it, there's a ton of evidence that they see this as nothing more than a strategic trap. It all comes down to this idea of the poison chalice. Think about it from their perspective. Why would China build its entire next generation of AI on American chips that could just be banned again tomorrow? And why on earth would it pay a 25% tax directly to its main competitor for the privilege? They've been burned by this before. They're not just playing to get today's tech anymore, they're playing to be completely independent of tomorrow's politics. And if you want to see China's real strategy in action, look no further. The very same day as the U.S. announcement, China's own homegrown GPU champion, a company called More Threads, went public. And its stock didn't just rise, it exploded. We're talking a surge of 468% on day one. Look, this isn't just market hype. This is a massive, state-backed signal. Chinese money is flooding into its own tech companies. The message from Beijing could not be clearer. Buy domestic, build a future that is totally free from American control, even if that means taking a little step back today to take a giant leap forward tomorrow.
Even Nvidia's own CEO, Jensen Huang, came out and basically admitted how uncertain this all is. Just because you have permission to sell something doesn't mean you actually have a buyer. This isn't just a business deal, it's a high-stakes game of geopolitical chess, and China's next move is throwing the entire outcome into doubt. And that uncertainty, it's now sending ripples all across the globe.
This decision by the US wasn't made in a vacuum. It has sent absolute shockwaves through the very alliances that America built to contain China's tech ambitions in the first place.
Okay, so first up you've got Japan. They followed all the rules. They restricted their own tech exports, and now they feel completely betrayed. Then, over in Europe, ASML, that's the Dutch company that makes the only machines that can build these chips, they are furious. They've been blocked from selling their machines to China, only to watch an American company swoop in and sell the finished, high-profit product. And then there's South Korea, who could be a surprise winner in all this, since its companies SK Hynix and Samsung basically have a monopoly on the advanced memory these new H200 chips desperately need. So what does this all mean? When you take a step back from all the daily headlines and the noise, you start to see the outlines of a completely new, global game board taking shape.
So at the end of the day, what's the ultimate takeaway from all this chaos? Well, far from preventing a split, this deal might be the very thing that makes it permanent. China is now all in on building its own parallel tech universe, from the chips themselves all the way up to the software. The world is literally splitting into two separate, incompatible tech ecosystems, one led by the US and one by China.
This whole saga leaves us one final and pretty unsettling question. This is no longer just a trade dispute, it's a race. A flat-out race for complete technological independence. And right now, it is not at all clear who's going to win.